Hi, and welcome to today's video. I want to talk to you about Instagram Analytics, Instagram Insights, and really explain this concept and all of the different tools that are available to you. I know this is something that a lot of people struggle with, so if it's confusing to you, don't feel bad. It's a lot of words, it's a lot of jargon, but we're gonna go through it together, and my hope is that by the end of this video, you'll have a much better understanding going forward of what these different phrases within the Insights panel mean and how you can gauge them to sort of review your own content and see what's working or maybe what's not working so well. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump in. This is gonna be one of those videos where I pop up what I'm doing on my phone screen, either in screenshots or in video right here, so that you guys can see where I am, and hopefully it'll be a little easier to illustrate where things live within the Insights panel and give you the best understanding that I can. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first thing I want to talk to you about is actually the base Insights panel. So the way we get to that is we just press the three bars in the top right from our profile view and click on Insights. From here, you're going to notice three tabs. There's activity, content, and audience. We're going to go through those one at a time to do this in what I hope is the easiest way possible. So first things first, on the activity tab, we have our interactions section. The best way to think about the interaction panel is to consider interactions, the engagements people are making on your profile itself. So when they're clicking through to just your base profile view, that would be considered a profile visit, and that's actually the first stat here. So profile visit is just any time someone will click on your username or search for your username or click on your profile photo, and they'll be taken straight to your profile, your grid with your bio and your links and all that. Anytime someone views that, Instagram records it as a profile visit. Now, all these interactions are going to be based on the past week, and it will tell you the dates underneath interactions. It says on mine right now, 3,162 actions taken on your account from January 23rd to January 29th. That is the sum total of profile visits, anytime someone comes to view your profile, website clicks, anytime someone clicks on whatever link you have in your link section of your bio, and emails, anytime someone clicks through to contact you and email you. Of course, these different tools are going to meet different objectives for you depending on what your goals are. For instance, I don't have a setup for a call to action for website clicks right now on my bio, but if I did, or if I had some sort of promotion that I was running or some sort of goal that I had to gain click-throughs in that way, then I definitely want to take a look at this and see if what I have in my bio as my call to action is working, to see if people are clicking through on that. So that's something to think about, and just consider what your different goals are depending on what promotions you're running that month. Next is the discovery section, and I want to, before we go any further, just reveal to you a little known tip that if you tap on almost all of the graphs within the Insights, all you have to do is just tap really quick and it'll give you a little bit more detail as far as actual numbers. So just to give you an example, I'm just going to toggle that on and off really quick, and all I'm doing is just tapping once, and that's how you see more detail. But moving on from there, the big thing you want to consider under the discovery panel is the difference between reach and impressions. Total reach is the total number of users, of unique accounts that are going to be seeing your account, your profile. Impressions, on the other hand, is the total number of times your content has been seen. So impressions could be counting a person who's happened to see your post 3 times, or a person who happened to see your post just once. All of those people and all of the number of times that they've seen your content will be counted. So reach is based on unique individuals, and impressions is based on total number of times your content has been seen by anyone, regardless if they've already seen it. So your impressions will always be bigger than your reach. Now, the chart here is going to show which days in the past week, from whatever dates it's showing, in this case it's January 23rd to the 29th, which days you had the most reach, and that will give you an idea if you go back considering which days you posted what content and which days most of your audience was active. It's here that you get to start to really consider what's working or not working and take a closer look at your content. All right, so that is everything under the activity panel. We're going to scroll back up now and go to the middle panel, which is content. The first thing you're going to see here is total number of posts. That's counting both your feed posts and your story posts, and that will give you the total number for a specific week. You'll notice that the week it's listing here is January 16th through the 22nd, when under the activity tab, it was January 23rd to 29th, I think. So you just have to kind of pay attention to which weeks you're studying or looking at in each of the activity panels, because they're not always in perfect alignment, just depending on what day of the week it is and if the analytics have updated for you. Under the content tab, I actually wouldn't really worry about this number unless you're taking a look at how many posts you have versus how many followers gained or how many interactions gained. There's really a million different ways you could be using this information, so I don't want to go too in depth on it because it's so unique to what you're working on and what your unique goals are. But what I will say that's really handy about the content tab is going inside your feed post tab here. So if you have your phone and you happen to be following along with me, go ahead and tap into feed posts see all, and that's going to open up this incredible feature, which I really, really love. And you'll notice, first things first, at the top, a filter. The filter will say showing all posted in the past year, sorted by engagement. That's my default because that's what I look at for fun, I don't know, but it might be different for you. But you can change that really easily, and this is where the power of that tool really lies. So all you need to do is tap on that text, and it is going to give you all these different options based on the type of content itself on your feed post: photos, videos, carousel, shopping posts, which not all of those apply to all of us, but for me, I just keep it under all, just depending on what I've done. And then you can filter it under type of engagement, whether that's engagement in total or comments or follows or impressions, likes, profile visits. I mean, I think you can start to see the incredible power in this. You can really take a look in a bunch of your different posts depending on the timeline. You could do a week ago, you could do the last month, you could do 3 months, you could do 6 months, and really take a look at all of your content and see which posts did best. This is where you really get to see all of your posts in comparison and see which ones did better, which ones did worse, and kind of try to figure out why that is and what you can do to continue growing and figure out where to go from here, basically. So for the sake of example, I'm going to do, let's do likes, or you know what, let's do impressions, and we'll do that for the past 6 months. Let's go for it. So all we have to do is press apply, and that's going to give me the number of impressions. And just to remind you, impressions are the total number of times this content was seen. It's not unique users, it's the total number of times this content was seen in total. You can use this in a bunch of different ways. You could take a look at which hashtags you were using. You could take a look at the times of days some of these were posted, the content themselves, the coloring, the angle of the shot. Maybe try to figure out what connects the successful posts and what connects the unsuccessful posts, and figure out what's working for you and what's not working for you based on your analytics. It's an incredibly handy tool, and I am absolutely obsessed with it. You can do the same thing with your story posts, but frankly, I don't think it's as powerful a tool because it only lets you go back 14 days. It would still be good if you wanted to compare things for a shorter span of time, but it's not going to give you that incredible reach of the past 2 years or 6 months or what have you. So things to keep in mind. I absolutely love that tool. But moving on from there, let's go back up to the top and head to the audience tab. First things first, on the audience tab is your total follower number, and right underneath that it's going to give you what you hope is a plus mark for gaining followers in the last week. And again, this is listed as January 16th through the 22nd and not what the activity tab was, which was January 23rd to 29th. So again, just pay attention to the detail of the week it's giving you so that you don't get confused on which content did well or didn't do well. You could track this over time. You could pay attention to if you do better one week or worse one week. But I do just want to say that you have to be healthy about the way you're using your analytics. There's gonna be weeks where you do better and you gain more than other weeks. Try not to let that get to you too much. I know it's hard. Analytics should be used as a helpful tool and not something that's gonna drive you crazy. I think some people get a little too wrapped up into analytics, and you have to remember to approach them from a healthy way. So I just wanted to pop that snippet in here before we go any further, since we're talking about follower count now. And remember what your individual goals are, and follower growth isn't the end all be all of everything, and to just take it as it comes and do your best. And that's really what matters here. So moving on, in the audience tab, we have our total follower number and the increase or decrease over the past week. And then we're gonna have top locations. And I'm gonna be honest here, and I think that the city's information is largely irrelevant. For example, only 1% of my following is both in New York and London, so it gives me the highest percentage there, but of course your audience is gonna be hopefully varied among a bunch of different cities. So that is kind of, in my opinion, too niche unless you're a person who runs a business and it's like a brick and mortar place that you wanna see if your followers are local or not. So for our purposes, for you being an author and wanting to sell your books, either nationally or worldwide, I think that the city dynamic is not really useful for us, but what is useful is the countries tab, because that will allow you to consider what timing is best for you to post. It'll also give you an idea if you ever want to run advertisements for your books on Instagram. That'll give you an idea of where your followers already are. So these are just more practical tips, is using the countries guide versus the cities guide. Next is age range of your followers. And I, for one, think this is particularly interesting because it gives you a very unique view of who your audience is in a demographic sense. That's not something that we can always know, but the age range and gender of my audience is 87% women, and they're mostly between the ages of 18 and 34. So that tells me a lot of things, and for you as an author, that's interesting because that's going to tell you things like what people can afford, what content they might be interested in, what phase of life they're in. Like for instance, it's probably a safe bet if I post a photo with some makeup in it, right? Because my audience is mostly women, so they're going to relate to that. So you can use little key insights like that to have a different approach to the type of content you're producing, to consider different ideas you might have moving forward about what sort of things you might want to talk about based on who your audience is. And as you target your content, you might want to consider your books and who your target audience is for your books and produce content that you think will attract that audience. As we already know, that's basically a tenet of what I teach you guys and try to share with you guys, is that it's all about finding your target audience. This is a way to both figure out who your audience is right now and try to get that audience more to where you want it to go. Now, the last tab under audience is your followers, and this chart is going to give you information on when your followers are most active, when most of them are online. Now, this is a chart that I would definitely recommend you tap to reveal the numbers, because that will give you a better idea of exactly how many of your followers are online during those peak times, and that will help you figure out when to post and all that. Under the hours, of course, you can scroll to the right and get Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and on down the line, and you will see that it does vary slightly, though you'll probably have a similar peak all along the line, but the detail will be a little different. You can also go to days of the week and figure out which day is probably your best day for content. Now, I have noticed that lately Thursdays have been a terrible day for me to post. Who knows why? It might be a phase within just people's routines or what have you, but I actually noticed that here in my followers activity, that is a lower day, but the difference between the numbers of how many of my audience are active on these days really isn't that strong. So for instance, it's 24.9 they record as active on Thursday, but 25.1 active on Monday. So to me, that's not really a big difference. So that makes me consider a few different things about what type of content that was on Thursday, what hashtags I used, and you could go into it if you want to, or you can just accept that, hey, maybe Thursdays right now are just sort of a weird fluke for whatever reason. And this is what I'm talking about as far as approaching analytics from a healthy way is, yeah, use it to your advantage, see what you can learn from it, but do not obsess too much over your numbers, because you will drive yourself crazy. A lot of people fall into that hole. It's similar to falling into comparison, where if you use it as a tool, that's great. If you use it as a motivator, that's great. But if you take it too far, then you're just being a detriment to yourself and your progress and distracting yourself from your goals and what you want to accomplish. Now, I know that was a lot, but I hope you're ready to take one more further step into this, because you can actually view insights in a slightly different way based on your individual posts. So that's what we're gonna go over now. So if you haven't been following along on your phone already, I feel like this is a great time, so I would go ahead and grab it and we'll just walk through this together. Here I am on my profile view, and all we're gonna do is just scroll down. I think I'm gonna use this post because it's been about a week and that post should be almost done receiving activity, so I feel like that's a good one to use as an example. So I clicked on the post individually, and then you'll notice that little View Insights button. You tap that once, and what's gonna appear is sort of a snapshot view of engagement, stats, and the basic. But if you tap it again, it'll give you a little bit more detail, and this is where we can really get into it a little bit and really determine how this post did. What I'd recommend you do first is just take a look at your engagement icons there at the top with the little black icons, starting with the heart, which is of course your likes, which on this one was 3.4K, your number of comments, and then the little send icon, that's the number of times that post was shared with a friend, and then the number of saves that people made on this post. Those are all engagements that help your post do better and get seen by more people, because it tells the algorithm, hey, people are engaging with this, let's show it off a little bit. So that is just a good indicator starting for you right off the bat, see how things went overall. Then if you dive into it a little bit more, you can go into interactions, which is the next section. It'll give you a total number of actions, which is profile visits, website clicks, and emails all together. And again, this is going to depend on what your goals are. For instance, if I had mentioned in my caption something like a call to action for clicking the link in my bio, if I had done that, I could have gauged how many people went from clicking this post, viewing this post, reading the caption, and then went in to click on my website link. So that's something to think about and consider how you can use these insights to see if your goals are working or if what you're producing is setting forward to accomplish the goals you're after. So profile visits in total are anytime someone goes from the post, from the content itself, to view your profile overall. This is usually people who are either fans who wanted to see if you've posted lately and they missed it, or people who are completely new, seeing your post for the first time from a hashtag or what have you, and they want to see who you are, what you're about. That's a good thing, because that means that your post, your content, your photo somehow spoke to them and they want to check you out a little bit more and see if they want to press that follow button. Which actually leads me to the next bit, which is the discovery section. Now, this is the accounts that were reached by this post overall. That'll give you the total number for reach, which again, just to clarify, because I think a lot of people get these confused, it's really simple once you get it, but it's just kind of confusing. Reach is the individual number of people that have seen this post, like individual unique users who saw it, which was 13,785 people estimated. Now it'll say, and this is really important, right underneath that in a faded text, it'll say accounts reached and then the percentage that weren't following you. I personally want the percentage of people reached not following me to be really as high as possible, because that means I'm getting my content into new viewers' eyes and that I'm gonna hopefully grow based on that post, as opposed to having like 4% of the audience wasn't following me. That's great that I reached so many of my followers, but it means that my content wasn't seen by very many new eyes. So to me, that's an important analytic that will help you figure out maybe I should be improving hashtags or encouraging more comments. Consider things like that. I really love that insight and I think it's really helpful, and I hope that you'll find it helpful too as you go through and start using these insights a little bit more. Underneath that text is going to be the number of follows you received as a result from this post. Another extremely interesting analytic. And what I like to do is go back up to profile visits, the number of people who viewed my profile, and then look at the number of follows I got from that post. That's going to tell me something that I think is really important and interesting. It tells me how well my profile as a whole is doing at converting followers. If I assume, and it's not a perfect assumption, but if I assume that the profile visits are mostly people who are new to viewing my account, then I can consider how many of those new people are pressing that follow button, right? So if I took 100 followers out of about 500 profile visits, that tells me where I'm at as far as converting viewers to followers. That's a handy tool to consider and will help you kind of gauge your profile a little bit and what's working for you or not working for you. And I just want to clarify, it's never going to be 100% conversion. It's never going to happen. You just want that conversion number to be as high as possible. I think anywhere from probably 10 to 25% is what I'd call success. You're gonna have a hard time getting more than that to convert. And if they're not converting, then we maybe need to revisit your profile photo, your overall theme, feed, and your bio and things like that. And of course, that's what the group is for. So if you wanna reconsider things, of course, anytime you can just drop a little line and we'll get you some feedback. After the follow information, it's going to give you reach again. So that's kind of duplicate information, but there it is again if you want. And then it's going to give you impressions, which again is the total number of times your content was viewed. This is really interesting in itself as well because it'll tell you where people saw your content, whether they saw it from home, which basically means their feed view. So if they're already following you or if they follow a hashtag that you're using and that it popped up underneath it, that means they'll have seen it underneath their home tab or their feed tab. From hashtags themselves, which means if someone is clicking through or exploring hashtags, that's how they found you. Or from the explore page, which means if your post is doing well and people press that little magnifying glass icon and that your post showed up there, that means that your account or your posts are telling Instagram to show your content to those people. Or from other, which could be from a lot of things, and it's not very well described, but I imagine it's things like friends of friends who see someone they know, comment on one of your posts, and then go in from there. Different things like that. There's a million different ways that people can access you on Instagram, and that's part of why I love it so much and part of why it's so great for organic growth. So those are all handy to consider as well. I know that this video was longer than usual, it's quite lengthy, and I did think about breaking it up and just doing it analytics based on the overall insights tab and then analytics based on individual content, but I just wanted to give you as much information as I could about this topic in one video since we're here in the Facebook group. So I hope that this accomplished that, and I know it was a lot of information, but I hope that it helps you moving forward better understand different insights, how you're using them, how they affect your content. Again, there's hundreds of ways that you could compare analytics. You can take a look at which days perform best and then check that against the content you made. You can look at profile views versus follower gain to look at your conversion rate from viewer to follower. There's a million different ways you can do it. If you have different goals you're working on, if you want to get more click-throughs on your website, you can take a look at your different posts, see if your CTAs are converting people to go click. And then if they're not, consider how you can rephrase or redirect in maybe a different way and see how it goes. I like to give you guys little assignments in these videos, and for this one, I just want to keep it simple. What I'd like for you to do is just go through your insights. Just get familiar with flipping through the different tabs, refresh yourself on what they mean, maybe give yourself a little quiz, ask yourself, okay, what does this term mean? How can I use that? That sort of thing. And then if you have questions as you go, all you need to do is drop me a comment below and we can chat about it. Happy to talk, as always. Thanks so much for being a part of the AI family. I absolutely love having you here. I love seeing the support in all of your comments and threads. It's the best feeling for me. I just am glad to help you on your journey in any way I can. So I will catch up with you guys in the comments and in the feed as usual, but otherwise I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see ya on the next one. Bye guys.